Life moved at a gentle pace in the small town of Willow Creek, nestled among rolling hills and quiet streets. It was a place where everybody knew each other, where secrets were hard to keep. There was the Donovan family, whose household seemed absolutely perfect. At its helm was Richard Donovan, a successful businessman, respected in town, and loving father. His son Daniel Donovan followed in his father's footsteps, a devoted husband to his wife Emily and an all-loving father to their two tender young children. For the world, Emily and Daniel had the perfect marriage. Comfortable life, a beautiful home, and a close-knit family. But behind closed doors, a forbidden affair was unfolding. Emily had fallen in love, but not with another man. With her father-in-law, Richard Donovan. A secret romance that started as stolen glances turned into passionate meetings in the shadows. And when their secret was discovered, it led to a brutal murder that would shake Willow Creek to its very core. What drove a wife and mother to betray her husband in the worst possible way? And when the truth finally came to light, who would have to pay the price? Emily Donovan was not the woman that people thought she was. 32 years old and married to Daniel for nearly a decade, to everyone in Willow Creek, Emily was the epitome of the perfect wife, loyal, devoted, and committed to the community. But Emily was bored. Her marriage to Daniel had become predictable. He worked long hours, rarely showed affection, and their once passionate relationship had faded into routine. And then, there was Richard. At 58 years old, Richard Donovan was still handsome, charming, and powerful. His presence commanded attention, and unlike his son, he knew how to make a woman feel special. At first, it was innocent. A compliment here. A lingering touch there. But soon, their stolen moments turned into something much more dangerous. Secret meetings at Richard's private cabin. Passionate whispers in the dark. Promises they would one day be together, no matter the cost. Emily and Richard thought no one would ever find out. But in a town like Willow Creek, secrets never stay buried for long. Daniel Donovan was not a stupid man. For months, he had noticed changes in Emily. She was happier, distracted, always on her phone. But the biggest sign? She had stopped caring about him altogether. And then, one night, Daniel saw something that changed everything. Emily thought he was working late. But when Daniel drove past his father's cabin, he saw her car parked outside. His wife. With his father. At that moment, something inside him snapped. He didn't confront them right away. Instead, he waited. And when the time was right, he planned his revenge. It was a warm summer evening when Emily's world fell apart. She had planned to meet Richard at their usual place, the cabin in the woods. They were reckless now. Careless. They thought Daniel would never find out. But they were wrong. That night, as Emily lay in Richard's arms, a sudden loud bang shattered the silence. The cabin door burst open. And standing there was Daniel Donovan. His face was twisted with rage. Emily's eyes went wide, words failing her. Daniel. But before she could finish speaking, he pulled out a gun and aimed it at his father. You stole my wife. You stole my family. Richard threw up his hands, his voice calm but taut. Son, just put the gun down. We can talk about this. But Daniel didn't hear. Taking a cold, steady breath, he pulled the trigger. One gunshot resounded through the cabin. Richard stepped back, shock frozen on his face. And then, he fell to the ground. Emily screamed. Tears streaming down her face, she pleaded with Daniel to stop. But he just looked at her. You ruined everything. Then, he turned the gun on her. For 1 second, Emily thought he would kill her too. But instead, Daniel dropped the gun and walked away, leaving her alone with his father's lifeless body. Emily sat frozen in shock, staring at Richard's dead body. Her world had just collapsed. Moments later, sirens pierced the night. Daniel had called the police himself. And when the cops showed up, he was standing calmly with his hands raised. I killed him, he said unapologetically. He deserved it. Emily was taken in for questioning. She was not, though, a murderer. Daniel was. And he didn't deny it. The case of Daniel Donovan became a scandal throughout Willow Creek. For some, he was just an angry husband who snapped. For others, he was a bloodthirsty murderer. But the real truth was undeniable. He planned this murder. He waited for the right moment. And when this time came, he killed his father in cold blood. The jury took only 6 hours to reach the verdict. Guilty. Daniel Donovan was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. His revenge had cost him everything. And Emily? She was free. But at what price? Her lover is dead. Her husband was gone. And she would never escape the shadow of what she had done. From a secret love affair to bloodshed. A wife's betrayal. A father's deception. A husband's revenge. Was Daniel's crime a crime of passion? Or cold, calculated murder? Was Emily a victim? Or had she played with fire and got burned? One thing is a given. Betrayal always has a price. And in the end, everyone paid.